I wanted to start with asking you a little bit about how has working on both the agency side and the brand side prepared you for becoming a CMO?
For me, it was about kind of two different phases in my career. I think agency life, particularly when I was in it, which was around the 90s, 2000, was really about the emergence of digital and data-driven sort of targeting, so the direct response. And the beginning of sort of segmentation. So it was really interesting because agencies were already transforming. And so people that were literate early in digital were able to get exposure and be able to progress through the ranks incredibly quickly. The amount of exposure to the projects and the scope of the projects that I was given at a very early stage of my career was quite amazing. Being able to do the agency world enabled me to both, number one, travel the world, and number two, get exposed to so many different businesses because I've had such a breadth of experience that was really enabled by the agency, the amount of assignments I had while rising through the ranks of the agency, and also the complexities of the questions being asked for us to answer. It really sort of gave an incredibly broad base and also a fundamental confidence in my ability to learn.
That's an interesting perspective, I like it. Can you tell us a little bit more about the role you actually had before being a CMO?
So I was working for Google. My role was to figure out the go-to-market strategy of how, looking at the agency landscape, how could Google provide services on behalf of their biggest clients? So an example would be if Honda is one of the biggest clients and a particular agency is leading that relationship, what my team's responsibility was to work with that agency, looking at not just our ad products, but looking across a portfolio of all of Google products and being able to say, okay, how does that layer up into a solution? So for me, it was a fantastic way to enter back into the marketplace because I was one of the few people within Google who had a purview over everything within Google.
So you've worked either at or with agencies for a number of years. What are the most rewarding things about working with agencies or agency life in general?
I think, from an agency world perspective, it gives you a breadth of experience that's very difficult to replicate on the client side. I work for a lot of different agencies, and in doing so, I've been able to travel the world. From a skill set standpoint, it gives you a very good understanding of all the components. I think the exposure to various business models and various business problems, all marketing related, really give you quite a broad tool set to sort of use and choose from as you kind of advance in your career.
In terms of the weather company, how do you use agencies today?
I feel very strongly that internal organizations, marketing organizations, need to own the ability of telling their story. You can't farm out your positioning. So we have a creative group internally, and what we do is we establish what's the brand architecture, what's the overall brand narrative, how does that cross all our portfolio products, and then based around that, we use agencies for very specific campaigns. So we're laser focused in the sense of which agencies we'll use.
Do you have any advice for brand leaders who are trying to build better agency partnerships?
They have to lean in. So right now, one of the biggest initiatives that we currently are doing is we are looking at our overall brand architecture. So if you look, we are the Weather Company, the Weather Channel, Weather Underground, and now we're recently owned by IBM. When you start considering our global ambitions, which are really to go global and drive 1 billion users, we're currently at around 250 million users. And so a substantial amount of our growth is going to come globally. Well, one of the challenges is the Weather Channel doesn't translate into multiple languages. And also the relevancy isn't the same iconic sort of resonance that you have here in the US. So part of what we've got to be reconsidering is how do we need to sort of evolve our story to sort of encompass all those dimensions. The advice is for marketers, you only get what you put in. So if you kick it over the fence, expect it to be kicked back, okay? If you lean in and you say, hey, agency, this truly is a partnership. And in that, hopefully, we'll get the best solution and the agency gets the best partnership. So that would be the big thing, the lean in.